Let's begin with the class. We are now starting with the next part of the chapter 4, which is the testing of hypothesis. And this is very important part of statistical inference. So we will go as slow as possible for testing of hypothesis because you have to understand and remember few things to formulate the hypothesis and how to do the test on the hypothesis and so on. So till previous classes, we have seen up to confidence intervals. So already you know the formula of confidence interval of mean and difference of mean and so on. So now let us work on testing of hypothesis. Okay. So what is the hypothesis generally mean? As we have seen from quite previous many classes that when we have a certain population, when we have certain population, and then we will take out some samples and we will do some test on the sample which will relate the same result on the population, right? This is we have spoken about from past previous many classes. Now here, now what in this hypothesis what we have to do is, for example, let's say you have a population mean, and when you are drawing the sample and when you calculate the mean of population, let's say x bar. So if you want to test whether is there any significant difference between the population mean and the sample mean, is there any difference? Is there any difference? So how do we going to test these type of things? So when we have to test something like that, are we checking whether is there any difference between two parameter? Or for example, let's say if you have a test done by using two methods, let's say you have method 1 and you have method 2. Okay, we have done the you have certain data and you have done test of the data by using two methods, and if you want to test whether the result what you have got by these two methods are having any significant differences of the method. So something like that when it comes to picture, then we always go with the hypothesis testing. So hypothesis testing means what? Whatever the terms or the method or whatever the things you are about to test, we are going to initially design a hypothesis, okay, or we generally call that as an assumption or the guess. That, for example, let's say if you are testing two method here, you have certain data and you have done test with method 1, method 2. So initially we are about to guess something that there is no difference. There is no difference in method 1 and method 2. So this is some assumption we are making initially. Okay. So that assumption, what you're making here, is nothing but your hypothesis. So this assumption, what you're making here, this assumption can be true or cannot be true. That we will see by using some statistical test whether the hypothesis which you have made here can be accepted or can be rejected. Okay. So if I put in a more simpler way, let's say you have a process A and you have a process B. You have some two process here. Okay. And we want to check whether process A, you can, anyone can ask anyway. Okay, you want to check whether process A is superior to process B, can be one check you can do, or process A is inferior to process B, or is there any difference between process A or process B. So to test something like that, we always make use of hypothesis. Okay, so we have to make some initial guess that whether there is a difference or there is no difference and such. Whether the hypothesis get rejected or accepted, it all depends upon the test. We will see that in a bit. So in order to arrive at a decision regarding the population through a sample of population, as we have spoken this enough, we have to make certain assumption which called as hypothesis, which may or may not be hold true. So hypothesis formulated for the purpose of its rejection. Okay, so here I have a two word for hypothesis. One is called a null hypothesis, one is called a null hypothesis, and one is called alternative hypothesis. Okay, null hypothesis is denoted with H naught, alternative hypothesis is H1. So H naught, this is the hypothesis which we going to, this we have to guess. Okay, H naught, that which is the null hypothesis, we are formulating the null hypothesis always. So we have to guess the null hypothesis. So whatever the null hypothesis we have already assumed, its opposite will be the alternative hypothesis. So whether H naught will be accepted or H1 will be accepted, that all depends upon the test. So we will speak about the statistical test in a bit later. So whatever the null hypothesis you have assumed, formulated, or you have assumed, the main purpose of this null hypothesis is that it may get rejected. Okay, we will formulate H naught in such a way that in my mind I should have this point that if I'm formulating something, if I'm assuming something, it should get rejected. Okay, so that is called a null hypothesis. Its reverse part or its complement is called as alternative hypothesis. Okay, so we'll see how to formulate the hypothesis in a problems. For example, let's say I'm going to test whether a process B is better than a process A. So you have a two process or a two method for a single data which you have tested. So now you have to check whether process B is better or process A is better. So always you have to remember that, or you have to formulate H naught only. Null hypothesis we have to formulate. H1 will be its alternative, means whatever H naught has been formulated, its reverse will be the H1. So H1 we will come to know automatically. H naught we have to assume. So always remember that whatever the null hypothesis you are formulating, I am keeping in mind that it may get rejected. Okay, but it may accept also. It depends upon the statistical test. So what is the null hypothesis for this part? So we can formulate the null hypothesis. In this case, H hypothesis is H naught only. So what is the H naught here is, there is no difference between the process A and process B. Whatever the null hypothesis you are going to formulate, always formulate that there is no difference at all. Okay, because this is, if I formulate this as there is no difference, then this hypothesis have high chance of being get rejected. Okay, if I initially say that if I initially formulate the hypothesis that okay, process B is better than process A, which is already given, so this might have less chance of being get rejected. Okay, so whatever the hypothesis you have to formulate for the problem, always the null hypothesis you formulate as there is no difference at all. Okay, let's try another example. Test whether there is a relationship between two variables. You have a x and y, etc., two variable, and you have to test whether there is a relation between two variables or not. So what is the null hypothesis you have to take? You have to take the null hypothesis again that there is no difference between two variables. That will be a null hypothesis. So this is your null hypothesis, H naught. In previous case also, this is your null hypothesis. So there is no difference for process B and process A. And here also there is no relationship between between the relationship between the variables is your H naught. Now, H naught you have already formulated as no difference, then automatically your H1, which will be complement, will be nothing but there is a difference. There is a difference. If H naught says there is no difference, then H1 automatically becomes that it is a there is a difference. But what kind of difference it is, we will come to know with the set of data, or we need some kind of data or some kind of input for that. But the shortcut form is that whenever you are going to formulate null hypothesis, always be formulated by no difference. There is no difference, because this part has high chance of being get rejected. Okay. So now we came to know about null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. So this slide is all about to understand what is null hypothesis and alternative hypothesis. Null hypothesis denoted with H naught, alternative hypothesis denoted with H1. Okay, now let's go to the next part. We have certain types of, we can commit certain types of error while formulating the error or while coming at the conclusion. Okay, now what kind of error we have? Suppose that your null hypothesis is true. Okay, in actual scenario, your null hypothesis is true, and by using some statistical analysis, if you accept the null hypothesis, then you have made a correct decision. Okay, for example, that we have seen that the mean of population is same as mean of sample distribution of mean. We know already this. Okay, so we know that they are equal. Okay, so if you have done the statistical analysis that there is no significant difference between mu and mu x bar, which is actually true, and by using the statistical analysis also we have come to the conclusion that yes, we have to accept the hypothesis H naught, then we have made a correct decision. But if the null hypothesis is true, and by using the statistical analysis you reject the hypothesis H naught, then you have made a wrong decision. So when you have done the wrong decision for H naught, then you have committed a type 1 error. Okay. Once again repeat. If H naught is true in real scenario, and by using a statistical analysis, H naught got rejected, then we have committed type 1 error. In another scenario, if H naught is actually not true or H naught is false in real scenario, and by using a statistical analysis, if you accept the hypothesis H naught, then you have committed a type 2 error. So thing is very simple. If H naught is true in real, okay, and you have done some test and you have found that it got rejected, and you have rejected that assumption and you rejected H naught, you have committed type 1 error. Okay, now in real, if H naught is false, and after performing some statistical test, if you accept the hypothesis, then you have committed a type 2 error. This is the definition of type 1 and type 2 error. Once again, I will repeat that because you have to understand this concept very correctly, because we will see in the problem that what kind of errors we may come across. The null hypothesis, whatever you have formulating, in real if it is true, but by using the statistical test, if you reject the hypothesis H naught, then you have committed the type 1 error. Whereas if your null hypothesis is actually false, and by your statistical test you accept the hypothesis H naught, then we have committed a type 2 error. So this table is a self-explanatory. You can just link to every part and we can see that which kind of error we are committing. So rejecting astronaut when astronaut is actually true, we are committing type 1 error. So when we're accepting the hypothesis, null hypothesis, when astronaut is actually false, we are committing type 2 error. Now, note that the acceptance or the rejection of the hypothesis is purely based on the information revealed by the sample. Okay, from the set of population, whatever the kind of samples we are taking out. So whether the hypothesis has to be rejected or accepted, it all depends upon the sample. And what is indicated by the sample may not always hold true. Okay, that we will see in the statistical test. So if you want to minimize the type 1 error or type 2 error, we have to just increase the sample size. That's all. If you just take the large sample size, then the margin of committing type 1 error and type 2 error also minimizes comprehensively. Anyway, so a region which amounts to the rejection of hypothesis is called critical region. Yes. In the previous class, I have, when I was telling you how to find the confidence, critical value for confidence level of to 95%, if you remember, that when we have 95% confidence level, then we have to take 0.95, we have to divide it by 2, we will get some value. We will search this value in the normal distribution table, and that is the value of critical region for two-tailed test, right? And I have told you something that when we are doing the two-tailed test, this side and this side is the thing but your critical region. Okay, this is your critical region. And if it is a critical region, I have told you to remember one thing, that we are rejecting something if the value lies in this region, and we are going to accept something when it lies in between that. I told you that side. So what we are going to reject and accept, we are going to reject the null hypothesis when the value lies beyond this critical region. This is the critical region, which we denote with Z alpha by 2, or in some textbooks they also take it as ZC. So I will use Z alpha by 2 as a notation. Okay. So this is Z alpha by 2, this is minus Z alpha by 2. It's just a region. I will tell you how to find Z alpha by 2. So if your value of Z score lies on this side, then we are going to reject the hypothesis. And if it lies in between that, we are going to accept our null hypothesis. So this is all about the critical region. We will discuss that in detail. So critical region where we are going to reject the null hypothesis, and we denote this critical region with Z alpha by 2 for two-tailed test. For two-tailed, we denote this with Z alpha by 2, and for one-tailed, we denote this with Z alpha. Why alpha by 2 and alpha? Because we have two-tail here, so half of the region should be here, half of the region should be here. Whereas, because total area under the curve is 1, so half and half, both sides should be noted. Whereas when it has only one tail, either left side or right hand side, it will be only alpha. We will discuss that in detail. So this slide is all about to understand the type of errors and the critical region. So let's go to the next part. Now this is a very important point, a significance level, or we say that it's a probability of committing error. When have spoken about the confidence interval, okay, when I have spoken about confidence interval, we are checking the confidence, we are finding the confidence interval at certain confidence level. Let's say 95% confident you are, or let's say 99% confident you are. So if you are 95% confident to say something, that I'm 95% confident that this particular thing has happened, this implies that 5% error may happen. If 95% surety you have, this implies that you have 5% not sure, right? Whereas in this case, when you're 99% sure for some interval, in this case, you are 1% chance of committing error. So this 1% and 5% error which I'm talking about is nothing but your level of significance. So either I can say 95% confidence, or I can say 5% level of significance. Both are having a same meaning. But why I'm telling 5% level of significance? Because it is a probability of committing an error. Similarly, if I say 99% confidence or 1% level of significance, has a same implication, but we call this as level of significance because this is a chance of committing error. And this 5% and 1% will denote this with Z of, as I've said, alpha by 2, right? So we write this as Z of 0.05 by 2. Okay. So here this 5% and 1% is denoted with alpha. So if I say alpha as 0.05, this means I'm talking about 5% level of significance. If I say alpha as 0.01, I'm talking about 1% level of significance. So for two-tailed test, already I have told you how to find the critical value in the confidence interval itself. That 5% level of significance means we have to take 95%, divide by 2. Whatever the value will get, just find it out in normal distribution table. One tail test where I have not spoken yet, that I will speak to you in a while. So it's a probability level below which the hypothesis will get rejected. So as I've told you, this line on either side, this line either side is nothing but your critical region. This is a critical region which we denote with Z alpha by 2. Okay, so this Z alpha by 2 values, already you know that your Z alpha by 2 value for 95%, not 95% anymore, I can say for 5% level of significance is how much? 1.96. We have seen that. Z alpha by 2 value for 1% level of significance is nothing but 2.58. We have already calculated this value in the confidence interval for two-tailed test because we are considering both the tails. This part we have already seen. So what will happen now? This 1.96 is this particular line. 1.96 this side, this is also 1.96 with negative sign. Now we have to first find the Z value with the formula this, which we call it as standard normal variate. We have seen this formula more enough. If this Z value, whatever the value will get here, becomes greater than Z alpha by 2 for 1.96 or for 5% or 1%, whatever the value you may be having. Okay, I can put mod here because this should be positive. Then your hypothesis will be rejected. Why it is got rejected? Because the z value is greater than z alpha by 2. So in this case, z alpha by 2, let's say z of 1%, let 5% only we will take, so 0.05 by 2. So if this will be greater than 1.96, that value lies here, and this is your critical region. So if the values lies greater than this particular value, they are going to reject the null hypothesis on either side. Okay, but if it is become less than this particular value, then this will lie in this certain range. Then we are going to accept our hypothesis. So we need only two formulas to test the hypothesis. One is our standard normal variate z, and you should have the value of critical region. Z alpha by 2 for 5% is 1.96. Z alpha by 2, 1%, it is 2.5. Just straightforward values. We have seen that earlier. Okay. We denote this with alpha as we have told. So in two-tailed test, I've already spoken this. For example, let's say I have to find that there is no significant difference between some parameter theta and theta naught. So if there is no difference between theta and theta naught, means they both are same. So that will be a null hypothesis. Then what will be an alternative hypothesis? That theta will be not equal to theta naught. If there is no significant difference between theta and theta naught, these are any parameters, some random parameters are taken. Okay. If there is no significant difference, then your theta will be same as theta naught, or we can say your theta minus theta naught is equal to 0. So your alternative hypothesis will be reverse of that. It means your theta is not equal to theta naught at some alpha level of significance. This alpha level of significance will be 5% or 1%. Majority of the time, we are only working about 5% and 1% level of significance. We will not work any more than that. You use any statistical tool. 1 second. Hello.
Sir, you are in class, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Who's this?
Okay, I'm Sindhu Malisa from Computer Science Department.
I'm in class now right now. I'll just call you.
Yeah, you call me after.
Okay. So whether this hypothesis has to be accepted or rejected, look at the null, always look at the alternative hypothesis. If theta is not equal to theta naught, this implies your theta can be less than theta naught, or your theta can be greater than theta naught. There are two possibilities. Okay, so for example, if you have a theta naught, theta here, then your theta can be less than theta naught. Okay, your theta naught is here, so that your theta can be less than theta naught, might be here, or this can be greater than theta naught. So I'm considering both the tail. So I'm considering both the tails in this case. That is why I have taken this as two-tailed test example. But if they specifically mention that your alternative hypothesis is that your theta minus theta naught should be greater than 0, if they mention that specifically, then they are restricting you to take only either left hand side or right hand side. We will discuss that in one tail test. So this is come in the two tail test. So critical region is split into two parts. Okay, so how the critical region will split into two parts? If this is in the center is your theta naught here, then your theta will be either less than theta naught or it will be greater than theta naught. So you are considering both the tails. That is why it is two tail test I have considered. And for the two-tailed test, already you know the values I have given here, straightforward. This value how to find, I have already spoken. Earlier I have taken this value as ZC. So C is nothing but alpha by 2. So just remember the notation alpha by 2 only. So for 95%, if you want to check, just take 0.95 divided by 2, we'll get 0.475. Search this in normal table, and you can see that this value will be at 1.96. And because it is two-tailed, positive and negative both will come into picture. So negative value and positive value you have to take. So this we have already spoken at conference interval time. So how to reject and accept the hypothesis? When you have a standard normal variate Z, this Z you have to remember. When this value of Z, and we call this as Z score now, if Z score value is greater than your Z alpha by 2 at 1% or 5%, means these values, okay, if Z score value is greater than Z alpha by 2, then you have to reject the hypothesis. Otherwise, you have to accept the hypothesis. Just remember these two parts, Z value and this scenario. Why I have put mod Z here? Because Z should be positive value. If you get negative also, just put absolute of Z becomes positive. So Z x bar minus mu by sigma by root n, where x bar is the mean of sample, mu is the mean of population, standard deviation of population, and the size of the sample. You are already familiar with Z value now. We have already used that majority of the previous classes. So just remember this particular portion. Don't confuse yourself when to reject and when to accept the hypothesis. When your Z value becomes greater than critical value, it will lie here. So you have to reject the hypothesis on either side. If it lies inside, if your mod Z is less than Z alpha by 2, then it will lie here in between this range. So you have to accept the null hypothesis. For one test, I will speak this a bit later. Okay. For one tail test, I'm just not want to confuse you right now. Let us first work out some example on two tail tests, and then we'll go ahead for one tail. So let's look at this example. An electrical firm manufacturer light bulbs that have a length of life that is approximately normal distributed with mean of 800 hours and standard deviation of 40 hours. Okay. Now we have to test the hypothesis. They have already given the hypothesis to us, that test the hypothesis that your mean of population is 800 hours against the alternative hypothesis, which is your not equal to 800 hour. If a sample of 30 bulbs has an average life of 788, sample of 30, so sample size is 30, and your mean of sample is 788. So use 5% and 1% level of significance to test whether which of the hypothesis holds true. Okay. So keep in mind that this value of mean is equal to 800 has been calculated using a sample. Okay. You remember that your mu is always equal to mu of x bar. They have remember this is for sample, this is for population. So they have taken some sample from the population and they have found that the mean is 800, which is also same as mean of population. Now they want to just check that whether this mu is equal to 800 is correct or not by using a hypothesis. So this is what we're going to test in hypothesis right now. At 1% level of significance and at 5%, at both level of significance, we have to test that. So how to do that? We already know that for 5%, your critical value Z alpha by 2 is 1.96 value. This you have to by heart. At 1%, your critical value is 2.58. This input you should know, and also you should have a Z score, which is nothing but your X bar minus mean divided by sigma by root n. So these two values, two inputs I need to test the hypothesis. So now first I will calculate the Z score. So first to find the Z score. So Z will be is equal to X bar minus mu. So what is the X bar value? 788 minus what is the mean for null hypothesis? Mu is 800 whole divided by standard deviation of population they have already given, which is 40 hours. So this will be 40 divided by square root of n value, square root of 30. So we can calculate this. So 788 minus 800 is minus 12. So minus 12, 40 divided by square root of 30. So it is coming around minus 1.6431. So it is coming in negative, but because it is two-tailed, I'm using two-tailed here, two-tailed test. And this is the value for two-tailed test. For one-tailed test, the value of 5% and 1% level of significance value will not be same as 1.96 and 2.58. They will change. So how to find that? I will tell you in a while, but first let me work out with the two-tailed test. So this is minus 1.643. So in this case, your mod Z value, because I need positive value, this will become 1.6431. So now at 5%, I can put it here. At 5%, your mod Z value is 1.6431. So 1.6431 is less than 1.96. So this is less than Z alpha by 2. So at 5% level of significance, if it is less than Z alpha by 2, so we can roughly draw and check. Z alpha by 2 is somewhere here. This is 1.96 and your value is less than that. So it means it is coming this direction. So we have to accept the hypothesis. So we have to accept the hypothesis H naught and you have to reject the hypothesis H naught at 5%. What about at 1%? At 1%, your value of Z alpha by 2 is 2.58, but your value of mod Z is 1.6431. So in this case, your mod Z value is again less than Z alpha by 2. So in at 1% also, we are going to accept H naught and we are rejecting H1. We have to reject H1. So at 5% level of significance and at 1% level of significance, at both the cases, we are going to accept the hypothesis H naught. That is, your mean is equal to 800 is correct. All right. So any sort of doubt in this problem, please let me know. I've given the explanation here. This will be minus 1.64. That is correct. It will be minus 1.64. typing mistake. Okay, I'll correct that. So at both the cases, we are going to accept the hypothesis. In both the cases, we are accepting hypothesis. All right. Now let's see this example. A random sample of size n1. There are two samples now. There are two population and two samples. Okay. So the random sample of size n1 has 25 taken from the random normal population with standard deviation 1 as 5.2 and has a mean as 81. A second random sample of size n2 is equal to 36 taken from the another normal distribution of standard deviation 3.4 and has a mean of 76. Now we have to test the hypothesis H naught that mu1 as same as mu2. Your mu1 as same as mu2 against the alternative hypothesis that your mu1 is greater than mu2. Now here comes the point which you have to remember. In previous example, here they have mentioned mu is not equal to 800, but they have not mentioned whether your mean is greater than 800 or mean is less than 800. This part you don't know. So that is why we have used two-tailed test in this case, because it is just not equal to 800. That can be either less or that can be either more. So we have used both tail. But in this example, they have specifically mentioned the alternative hypothesis that your mu1 is greater than mu2. It means what? Your mu1 minus mu2 should be greater than 0. So basically, now your hypothesis which you are going to test is on right hand side. So we are using the mu1 should be greater than mu2. So if here is the mu1, so your mu2 should be in the right hand side. So now we are going to strictly use the one-tailed test in this case. We cannot use two-tailed test. Pick what notation they have used, a specific condition they have given here that your mu1, mean of population 1, should be greater than mu of population 2. So it means now what? If your value lies here, now this will be your critical region. This will be your critical region now. So whatever the z-score value you will calculate now, z-score value, if it lies in this region, then you have to reject the hypothesis. And if it lies anywhere in this range, we have to accept the hypothesis. So this is all about the one-tailed test. So before I go for this problem, let me first explain you the one-tailed test. Yeah. Okay. So one-tailed test again has a deviation of 2. So either it can be a left tail test or it can be a right tail test. So right tail test means it will be of this pattern, that it should be greater than any parameter. Left tail test means it should be strictly less than. So you have to look at the alternative hypothesis always to decide whether you have to go for two-tailed or one-tailed test. Okay, in this case, if H1 is less than, it will be a left hand side, so it will be a left tail test. In the second scenario, if it is greater than, then this will be somewhere here on the right hand side. So this will be your right tail test. Now the question comes here that how to find the critical value. see here that your critical value has been changed now for one tail test. For two tail test at 5% level of significance, the value of Z alpha by 2 was 1.96 plus minus 1.96, and at 1% your Z alpha by 2 was plus minus 2.58. This is for two tail. Now for one tail, it is Z alpha. The value of 5% is become 1.645 plus minus, okay, and at 1% becomes 2.33. So from 1.96 to 1.645, and from 2.58 to 2.33. So how we have to calculate that? So for 5% of level of significance, let me put this diagram over here once again. So let's say I will tell you how to find for right tail test. Okay. So let's say you are finding for the 5% of level of significance. I will tell you for 5% of level of significance. So in this case, your alpha value is 0.05. 5% level of significance means alpha value is 0.05. So total area under the curve is always 1. Total area under the curve is always 1. Okay, and you're talking about right tail. This can be either left tail, doesn't matter. So what you have to do is the total area under the curve, which is 1, minus, you have to subtract this certain area. Okay, so 1 minus of alpha, you have to do. So when you do that, 1 minus of 0.05, what will get? Right. Okay, so